Let's talk about a comeback story. I mean, a really spectacular comeback, the kind that almost seems to defy logic. We're looking at a country that not too long ago was pretty much written off, but now it's staging one of the most surprising economic turnarounds we've seen in a long, long time. We're talking about Spain.
19%. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. 19%. That is how much Spain's main stock market, the IBEX, grew in just a single year. Now, to give you some perspective, France's big stock index, it barely squeaked by with a 1.5% gain. So yeah, 19% isn't just good, it's an absolute knockout.
But this isn't just some blip on a stock chart. It's a signal that something much bigger, something much deeper, is going on in the Spanish economy. So the question is, what on earth is happening in Spain? That huge stock market surge? That's really just the opening act. The real story of Spain's revival, the truly unbelievable part, becomes clear when you start looking at the fundamentals.
So check this out. In 2023, the Eurozone as a whole basically flatlined. And Germany, Europe's traditional economic engine, its economy actually shrunk. Meanwhile, Spain posted a super strong 2.5% GDP growth. They're not just growing, they are completely leaving their competition in the dust.
It is just an incredible reversal of fortune. The country that was once called one of the sick men of Europe is now being called its economic locomotive. A country that used to give financial markets a heart attack is now the one setting the pace for everyone else. All right, so how? How in the world did this happen? How did Spain pull off this massive transformation? Well, to really get it, we have to go back in time, because the seeds of today's success were actually planted in some really, really tough years.
And this was not an easy road. Not at all. After the 2008 financial crisis just blew up its real estate market, Spain went through this brutal 7-year-long depression. And during that incredibly dark period, the government had to push through some deep and, frankly, very painful reforms. Then, just as things were looking up, the pandemic hit, and the economy shrank twice as much as the rest of Europe. But since then, it's just been an explosive, nonstop rebound.
So those painful reforms we mentioned from back after 2008, they were absolutely crucial. The government really had no choice but to make its labor market more flexible and to overhaul and strengthen its entire financial system. And those changes, plus some smart subsidies for key industries, ended up giving Spain a massive 20% competitive edge over its rivals. It basically set the stage for the boom we're seeing right now. And here's the thing you have to understand. This is not the old Spanish economy. The country has truly fundamentally changed. It's moved way beyond that old stereotype of just being a place for sun, sand, and sangria. And this is where the old myths just get completely shattered. Yeah, tourism is still important, of course, but look at this. It's only about 13% of the economy. The real engine here is a huge services sector and a really powerful industrial base. This is a diversified, modern economy, period. And this new economy, it's being led by a whole new set of champions, global powerhouses that have totally replaced the old guard of tourism and construction. We're talking about Inditex, the company behind Zara, which is now the biggest fast fashion retailer on the planet. We're talking about Iberdrola, a European giant in renewable energy, Amadeus, a world leader in travel tech, and of course, the financial behemoth Banco Santander. And it's not just the established giants. Spain is quickly becoming a land of tech unicorns. You've got companies like the ride-sharing app Cabify and the delivery service Glovo just bursting onto the scene, hitting billion-dollar valuations, and proving that Spain is a serious hotbed for innovation and investment. Okay, but this economic miracle has a darker side. Behind all the impressive headline numbers and the growth charts, there's a much more complicated and honestly a much more troubling reality for a lot of regular people in Spain.
In this booming new Spain, 2.4% of the population are now millionaires.
And at the very same time, more than a quarter of the entire country is living below the poverty line. So this is the really stark contrast, right? It's at the very heart of the new Spain. You've got this story of a miracle for the rich, for the billionaires and millionaires who are doing great, but for so many others, the benefits of this boom just aren't trickling down. It's still a daily struggle. And you can see these deep cracks in the foundation. There's a huge housing crisis, made worse by what people are calling over-tourism, and it's forcing workers who are just earning minimum wage out of the big cities. 1 out of every 7 households is dealing with food insecurity, relying more and more on food banks. And for all its success in renewables, the country is still 70% dependent on imported fossil fuels. That makes it really vulnerable.
All of this brings us to the biggest, most important question of all. Is this economic boom a real, self-sustaining miracle that's built on a solid foundation? Or is there another piece to this puzzle we haven't talked about yet? 165 billion euros. That is a colossal amount of money. And it's the amount of aid Spain has gotten from the European Union's Pandemic Recovery Fund just since 2021.
To really wrap your head around just how massive that number is, think about this. That EU aid is equal to 83% of the entire Spanish government's budget for 2023. It is a gigantic injection of cash that has, without a doubt, fueled this recent growth. And so, this is where we're left with this final critical question. Is what's happening in Spain a genuine economic miracle, born from tough reforms and smart new industries? Or is it a fragile temporary boom, propped up by an absolutely unprecedented wave of European money? The answer to that is going to decide not just the future of Spain, but maybe the future of Europe itself.